Hello folks, and welcome back to another JB's Comic Reviews. Today we're going to be going through the Avengers number 244 from back in June of 1984. The story's titled And the Rocket's Red Glare. This is part 16 of 35 in the Wraith War event, depending on which reading order you're following. This seems to be pretty decently stacked in order. Cover's dope. Cover's an old school Al Milgrom cover. You see the Wraiths walk among us. You see the current Avengers at the time. Vision there. You've got the Captain Marvel, which is Monica Rambeau, the current Captain Marvel in 1984. As well as Captain America, Scarlet Witch, and Star Fox, which looks is always cool to see in the issues. So this one starts off, we're in Florida near the Banana River. And what's funny is I'm in Florida as well, so I actually had to Google that. I'm on the Gulf side near Tampa, but it looks like the Banana River is over on the Atlantic side near Orlando. So it didn't have shit to do with the story, just thought it was kind of interesting. So there's a pleasure boat cruising down the river when a ball of energy drops from the sky and lands on the boat. And come to find out, it's Captain Marvel. She was the ball of energy landing there. So we see that Captain Marvel at that time is Monica Rambeau. So I haven't read any Avengers for quite a bit of time. I just started digging into my old comics again. And the Wraith War led me to this particular issue of the Avengers. So I don't really recall when she joined the team. It looks like her first appearance was October of 1982 in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16. So that would have been about 2 years before this particular issue. Apparently, she was out doing a quick recon of a base for Captain America, who she's talking to, but you don't really know it's the captain because he's in civilian gear. He's out of costume. Vision shows up, and he phases actually through the ship's floor and asks Cap to come downstairs so that they can have a strategy session. At this time, the dialogue between Captain America and Captain Marvel seems that she's sort of new to the group. It seems like they don't really know each other's in and outs. You know, she's still calling him Captain, even though he's dressed as, Steve Rogers persona. So he has to clarify and say, look, if I'm not in the Captain gear, you can just call me Steve, not a big deal. So they still seem to be getting their feet wet for each other, with her being possibly new to the group. It's noted that Secret Wars just wrapped up. So the last issue, 243, was a tie-in to Secret Wars. I haven't read that yet, but as I go through that series, we'll see how that ties in. And it sounds like at the end of that, the Wasp stepped down as the chairwoman for the Avengers, and the Vision stepped in. So this is shared as Cap sort of goes through his thoughts as he heads downstairs to meet the Vision and the rest of the team who are just hanging out. So he gets downstairs, and what's funny is they're all, you got Wanda, Vision, Star Fox, the Wasp. Janet's worried about her tan, and just enjoying the boat ride at the time, while Star Fox joins in the conversation and proceeds to take his shirt off to sort of enjoy a bit of the sun. So it's funny, you can see that right here. He comes downstairs, so Janet makes a little comment about Steve taking his regular gear off, and it looks like he had his damn chainmail. I didn't really realize at the time he was in chainmail, but apparently he was. But Scarlet Witch says, hey, doesn't that chainmail get awfully hot? One gets used to it, Wanda. I'll never understand the willingness of you Terrans to endure continual discomfort in the name of secrecy. So Star Fox doesn't really care about hiding his persona, apparently. And then, here's the Wasp saying, yeah, but doesn't he endure it well? So she's flirting with Cap. The deck outfit seemed small enough sacrifice, Star Fox. So, he comes downstairs chatting with him. The Wasp is all worried about her tan, and then Star Fox says, okay, I could get behind that. So he starts to pull his shirt off. And what's funny is then Captain Marvel shows back up as he's sort of mid-stripping and says, pray, enter, dear lady. We're just making ourselves more comfortable. Won't you join us? So he sort of asks Captain Marvel, hey, would you like to sort of take your clothes off and tan with us? And it sounds like he's sort of referring to Captain Marvel as a form of prey. So I don't really know if Star Fox is sort of the ladies' man at this time. It's been a long time since I've read anything with him in it. But we'll assume for the time being he's just sort of a playboy at the time. So next thing we know, they're on their way to meet a general. They're going to be, they're heading up the river to discuss supposed Wraith activity that the government needs help with. So next thing you know, there's a big explosion nearby on a test pad. They could see it from the ship. Vision sends Captain Marvel to check it out. Star Fox gives, they're in the middle. I don't know why they just didn't beeline the boat over there, but whatever. Vision sends Captain Marvel to check it out. Star Fox grabs Cap and sort of flies him over towards the explosion. And then Janet zips down to Wasp size to fly there. Vision also reduces his mass so that he can ride the wind there. And then Wanda, she's stuck on the boat, and Vision tells her just to take a skiff over. So she gets to ride on her own on a little dinghy while they keep the boat sort of anchored in the bay. So as soon as they arrive at the explosion site, another explosion takes place. They could see that these explosions are attacking the structure on a booster platform that's there. A few of them head towards the collapsing booster. The remaining run into a group of Rocketeers that are actually the one doing damage to the structures. So there's some Rocketeers there. They're shooting rockets directly at the structure. And within relatively short order, the Rocketeers are starting to get sort of taken out. Looks like there's only 4 of them. There's one sort of left at this time. And then Wanda shows up just in time on her dinghy to deflect a bomb that this last Rocketeer was tossing at the team. Then we get a vision of a Wraith that's somehow watching these events unfold from afar. So somehow he's got a vision into what's going on here. Decides to hit the team with the mists of the Dark Nebula. So the area that all the Avengers are at fighting fills with a dark cloud. It engulfs the Avengers, makes it hard for them to see and apparently to think clearly. So some sort of Wraith sorcery is at play here. It seems that the Rocketeers aren't really affected in any way. They use this dark nebula as a means to escape while the Avengers are trapped in this cloud. So as soon as they're gone from view, immediately the cloud dissipates and the Rocketeers got away. So at this time, Vision's pretty distraught. It's his first mission as a leader. He feels it was a failure, and he's really sort of beaten himself up over it. So we got a scene change. We're now at the LA International Airport. Clint and his wife Bobby just arrive on a flight. They meet up with a guy named Bobby Foster who helps them with their bags. So there's a cool reflection that shows, Clint and Bobby, which are, Hawkeye and I guess and Hawk Girl, if that's her term at the time. So we could tell if you're newbies that these are also superheroes, even though they're in regular garb. So we get another scene change. We're now back at the Cape. There's a meeting taking place between the Avengers and a couple of the military heads, and a person named Dr. Cather, who shows them a Wraith in their natural form. So readers at this time were reminded that the Wraiths are a variant form of the Skrulls, and that was initially revealed in ROM issue number 50, quite a bit further back in the Wraith War saga. So they give a recap about how the Wraiths kill their victims. They've got this tentacle that comes out, goes into their head, sucks sort of all their energy out of them, allows them to take on the form of the person they killed, and then that's their method of killing and taking over and becoming a clone or a shape-shifted version of one of the humans or one of their victims. So the general and the doctor get into an argument over priorities and about trying to get additional help. The Vision loses his shit at this time. He slams his fist into a desk, busting the hell out of it. He doesn't want any sort of outside help. He's still butthurt that they sort of lost this first sort of mission. And he lays down the law, telling him, hey, we don't want any help from anyone outside of our group. We'll handle it. And then he flies off. So Captain at this time is a bit surprised. He's not too sure about Vision's tactic here, but he continues to follow orders anyways, and they wrap things up with the generals. So we got another scene change. It's quite a bit later, and I think we're in a place called Transia, which has Quicksilver and Lockjaw, who appear in like a 4-panel scene that got teleported there by Lockjaw. They're looking for someone named Bova's cabin, which they find, but they find it all destroyed. Then there's another scene change. So we get, we're thousands of miles away from Florida in some sort of hideaway. The Rocketeers from earlier are here, and they're talking to some sort of leader that you can't quite see his face on. It seems they were saved by the nebula, but this particular person didn't send it. So it seems that there were science level wraiths that were helped out by the sorcerer level wraiths. So the science wraiths were the ones that were disguised as Rocketeers. Usually they don't get along very well with the sorcerer or their sisters. The science guys are the men, and the sorcerers are the women, and they really are butting heads normally. But at this particular time, it seems that these particular psi wraiths were helped out by their sisters. Otherwise, they don't really know who else would have brought in that nebula to assist them. So they make a shift in their plans. Instead of sabotage, they want to switch to infiltration. And then they pass out some watches that apparently will hide their true forms from the Avengers somehow. They don't really go into. So we got another scene change. We're back at the Cape again. The Avengers are all on guard duty. Vision has added filters to the surveillance system, which should help pick up any Wraith signatures via the camera feeds. And while looking at one of the feeds, he flips his shit again. He spots a couple of the Wraiths, but everyone else just sees regular maintenance workers. The ability for them to notice that they're Wraiths don't really function like he believes that it should. But he says that his spectrum of detection is a bit wider, so he's able to sniff them out through this video feed, but nobody else can see it. So he sounds the alarm. The team heads out to intercept him. The Wraiths are confused as to how they were detected. They're not sure why their watches didn't work. And at the same time, the doctor we met earlier is using this as a distraction so he can hijack his ion rocket, which he's been working at on this base for a bit of time. So the Wraiths are fighting, are using this as a bit of a distraction, and he's heading towards his rocket, which he's going to try and hijack and get to outer space, apparently. So they subdue the 4 Wraiths. And then the Scarlet Witch performs some form of magic which reveals their true forms temporarily. And while this is happening, the rocket launches, and it's taking off at a rapid clip. So, as any rocket would. So as they notice this, Captain Marvel takes off for the rocket. It's noted that the Wraiths had modified it with some of their technology and that it's currently unstable. So from what they lead to in the comic, it looks like it's possibly getting ready to explode, but the doctor doesn't know this, and it would be pretty much catastrophic if it did. For the technology in here, the explosion would be horrible and would do big damage to the Earth. So Scarlet Witch mentions, where the hell's the Wasp at? That she was guarding the rocket, and we see that the Wasp is really trapped at the back of the rocket due to her not really knowing that the thing would take off. So when it takes off, the acceleration sort of has her pinned to the back of the rocket ship, even though she's still on it, and the issue ends. So it's left on a cliffhanger. I think there's 4 issues that are all supposed to be read in a row in regards to this story. So we'll see where this leads. Overall, I think it's written really well. This is the first one I've read by Roger Stern. I think everything else in the Wraith War so far has been penciled by Bill Mantlo. Art by Al Milgrom and Carmine Infantino, which I guess they layer in and work with each other throughout the book. There's some pages credited to Al, other ones credited to Carmine. So, you know, it was a good pickup. It actually does have some Wraith activity in it, where the Incredible Hulk issue didn't really seem to tie in much to the war. No ROM appearance yet, but I would assume that may come at a certain within the next 3 issues. So it was a worthy addition, but we'll see where this story leads us. And I give this one a thumbs up for now. It's definitely an issue worth checking out. So until next time, keep it real.